Hello, welcome to More Faith with Kisha. My first name is Kisha and my last name is Moore. And on this channel, we talk all things, most things, faith. I love to give my faith testimonies to motivate, inspire, and to encourage you to keep your faith in your dreams, in your goals, in your aspirations, whatever it is that your heart desires. And most importantly, keep your faith in God. So today, I want to talk about how I dropped out of high school, and after dropping out of high school, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in liberal studies. And I just want to give this testimony because sometimes in life, if you feel like you don't accomplish things in your earlier years, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you may have seen like all your friends go to college and, do all the things that young adults do, but you were in a situation where you weren't able to do that because of whatever was going on in your life. It's never too late. It's never too late. Like, don't be afraid to go back and finish what you started. So again, just giving this testimony because I want to inspire and encourage whoever is watching that may have experienced some of the things that I'm going to talk about to pursue their education, to pursue their dreams, and just to not give up. So let's get started. So let's see here. I'm from Southern California, around the age of 4 years old. I was living in, I think somewhere in LA. I don't actually remember exactly where, but I know I was living with my mom and I was living with my stepdad at the time. So again, I'm just a little kid, and I remember just begging my parents to enroll me in school. Like, I was so excited to start school. I just wanted to go. I wanted to meet friends. I wanted to be the teacher's pet. Like, I just remember just begging them. And then my stepdad, he would always say like, Kisha, you're too young. And my mom, she would always be like, just wait, you're too young. And you know how kids are. When you want to do something, you just keep begging and begging and begging until your parents finally tell you yes. So after, I don't know, weeks, a few months of begging to get enrolled into preschool, they actually told me like, okay, we're going to enroll you in preschool. And I remember I was just so excited. I remember it like it was yesterday, like the first day before going to school. Like, my mom, she did my hair in like all these little ponytails. I had on these cute corduroy, like purple pants. I didn't know how to tie my shoe at the time, so she helped me tie my shoe. And then my mom and my dad, my stepdad, they took me to school. And I'm thinking that this is just going to be an exciting experience. It's just going to be a wonderful journey. Like, I'm going to meet all these friends. But that was not the case at all. It was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life at 4 years old. Those teachers were emotionally, verbally abusive. I was not like a rebellious kid that was just like did what they wanted to do. Like, my mom and my dad and my grandma too, like, they raised me to be like very respectful, to respect my elders, to respect others. So it wasn't like I was a bad kid, but I remember it was these two teachers, and they were African American teachers. They were young, probably like in their 20s or 30s or something like that. And I just remember like those teachers did not like me. Like, they were just so mean to me. And let me give you an example. Like, I totally remember this like it was yesterday, right? So, when you're in preschool, if some of you went to preschool, kindergarten, preschool, this is like preschool before kindergarten. So, lunchtime, you get to eat your food, like if it's like a sandwich, soup, or whatever it is. And then after lunch, the teachers usually tell the kids like, okay, it's time to take a nap on the little mat. And you remember the little mat that was like in the middle of the classroom that had like the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and then all the kids would just find their little spot and take a nap. And this one particular time, I distinctly remember, like, I'm 43 years old, and this happened when I was 4. The teachers gave all of the children sandwiches to eat, except me. They gave me this soup, and the soup was so nasty and disgusting. And they made me sit there in a chair while all the kids took a nap on the mat. And they had the lights down dim, and they made me sit in a chair because I didn't want to eat the soup because it was nasty. And they made me sit there in a chair while all the kids was there, like, taking a nap. And I remember just sitting there like I wouldn't eat it. And I stayed there until I think my grandmother came to pick me up that day. And I don't remember if I expressed like what was happening at school or how the teachers, treated me. I probably did. I don't know. I vaguely remember telling my mom, but I'm not sure, you know. And I just remember, yeah, like just being like mistreated. And then another time we were outside, the kids outside on the playground, we were out playing, and this little girl literally lied and told the teacher that I hit her. And I did not hit her. So instead of the teacher coming to assess the situation, talk to us like, okay, what happened? The teacher tells the little girl to come and hit me. And so the little girl, she comes and hits me. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. And I just remember just feeling like alone, feeling like an outside. And these are other African American people, and I'm saying race because it played a part in how I see people who look like me, like in the future when I became an adult, because of that treatment, right? This is the first experience that I have with teachers who look like me, and this is how they are treating me, and kids who look like me, and this is how they are treating me. And this is outside of the family, right? And so I just remember just being at school, like I was just quiet and I was just a loner, like in preschool, just feeling like I didn't fit in. Maybe I wasn't aggressive enough, maybe the kids were just a little bit more aggressive or whatever. But I know I was that type of person, like it was always a breaking point. Like if you push me to the limit and if I had to fight, like I would fight. I was that type of kid. Like I'm quiet, I mind my own business, I'm shy. But when it comes down to it, if we have to go toe to toe, then I would do that. But it never got to that point. And so again, trying to fit in, being a little kid, feeling, out of place. So the little girl in the school, she had a slumber party. It was for her birthday, and I remember she invited me. And so I was excited to go, even though she was so mean to me in class. Kids, you don't know better. You just want to make friends. You just want to fit in. You just want to be liked. You just, kid stuff. So I remember she invited me to the sleepover, and I was so excited, and I was begging my parents to let me go, and they let me go to the sleepover. And so now I'm still 4 years old, right? So I remember getting dropped off at the sleepover. And I just remember just a bunch of little girls, I don't know if they were her cousins, friends. I just remember just a bunch of kids. And the whole night, no one talked to me. I was just like by myself, and I don't remember everything because I was 4, but I remember a lot. So I remember the whole night, it was just like they were clicked up, because I guess they had all known each other. And the little girl, she was always mean to me anyway. So what would make me think that she would be nice to me because I was at her sleepover? And so the whole night, I remember just being by myself. I think I probably ate a little bit of food. I don't even remember the parents being there acknowledging the situation. Like, okay, everyone needs to play with each other. Everyone needs to be friends. Like, I don't remember any of that. And I remember when it was time to go to sleep, everyone found their little place. It seemed like it was a big house, but it could have been a small house because it probably seemed big because I was a little person. I was a little kid. And it could have been smaller, but to me, it just felt like this really big house. And I remember walking from room to room. I remember bunk beds, and I'm walking from room to room, trying to find a place to sleep. And I finally found a place on a bunk bed. And I remember I called up the bunk bed, and I faced the wall, and I stayed asleep until it was morning. And in the morning, we had breakfast, and then my mom came to pick me up. And then my mom came to pick me up, and I walked to the door to leave, and all the girls was like, bye, Kisha. And I'm thinking, like, none of you guys talked to me the whole night. Like, no one, I was just like by myself at the sleepover, 4 years old, right? So I'm sharing this story because that was something that was traumatic that happened to me. That was like my first experience with school, with friends. And so it was like the enemy tried to sow a seed, a negative, a bad seed in me at that young age, where I was not I didn't do my work in elementary, junior high, high school because of that experience. After that, it was like I hated school. I didn't want to go to school anymore. I dreaded going to school. I didn't do any work all throughout, like I said, elementary, junior high, and high school. And I didn't even realize how traumatic that experience was until I began to write a book that is not published yet. It's a memoir about my life and the things that I experienced growing up and how I became the person that I am today. And so, yeah, again, like I didn't even realize it. So now I go to kindergarten. Kindergarten was better because my teacher, Miss Maroney, she was a Caucasian lady and she was so nice to me. It was like God always gives you balance in life. He's not going to let the enemy just kind of take over everything and just give you all these traumatic experiences without coming in and showing you some type of love, showing you like, oh, there is a God that loves you. There is people out here that's for you. So when I was in kindergarten, Miss Maroney, she was just like the sweetest, most wonderful teacher ever. Like till this day, like I think about that teacher sometimes and I cry, and because it was like what I needed. I needed that balance. I needed to feel accepted by a teacher. Even if the person didn't look like me, because again, the teachers who looked like me were mean to me, but the teacher who did not look like me, she was like the most wonderful person in the world to me at that time. And so, yeah, so in preschool, kindergarten, everything was good. But then as I transitioned into elementary school, like first grade, second grade, third grade, I was still kind of shy, quiet. Once I get to know people, I would like warm up. Outside of my household, outside of my family, I was a different person. I was like shy and quiet. But then it was like I just didn't like school. Like I never did any work. Till this day, I cannot really remember a time where I sat down and did homework. I just can't remember where I sat down and just like read a book. I did not have a learning disability at all. So it wasn't that I had a learning disability. I just didn't have the desire because of that first experience. You see how the enemy works? He tries to make the first experience, the last experience, but God had other plans. And so elementary, just passed through, never did any homework. Junior high, I never did any work. Like no homework, no schoolwork. The only time I was actually active in school is when I was in choir or chorus, because that was like my elective. And I used to love music. Like I love writing music. I love singing. I loved like being in a choir. So that was the only time I felt like I was actually actively doing something. And you don't really have to do work. You just have to like sing. So that was like fun stuff. And so transition from like junior, and then in California, the school system, they just pass you through. Like you can get all fails and they will skip you to the next grade. Like you don't have to do anything. And that's pretty much what was happening to me. Like, yeah, I was just like passed through, just passing on through. And junior high, it was the same situation. Like I really didn't do any work. I did good when I was in choir or chorus with my friends because I love to sing, and that was an elective, and it was like super fun. And in high school, I didn't do any work. Like I remember when I started going to Crenshaw, I went there for like a year. They put me in honor roll. It's like, why am I in these classes when my grades are not reflecting the classes that you're putting me in? Like I was not in honor roll. And they were just putting kids anywhere. It was like the educational system in California, the public educational system, it could be like really bad. So now I'm in honor roll and I'm like, I don't have a learning disability, but this is like on a whole nother level. And if I wasn't doing my work before, do you really think I'm going to do it now? And so I actually didn't do anything. So I remember just hating school, and I never connected what happened in preschool to how I was feeling at that present moment, at that time when I was in elementary, junior high, and high school. It's like, why don't you like school? Why is it that this little girl who was once so eager, so excited to go to school, so just happy for her parents to, take her to school, why is it that she just hates school? Like I never made the connection until, like I said, years later when I was working on a memoir, which is not out yet. Stay tuned. And so I'm now in high school and I'm just like, man, I cannot wait until I never have to step foot up in a school again. This is what I'm thinking at this time. So I ended up at 17 years old and I was living with my grandma. I was raised by my grandma. So from the age of like 7 until adulthood, I was raised by my grandma. My mom was always around, but she wasn't always present. And my grandma was like always working. So she wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing in school or, you know, or academics or anything like that, me and my siblings. So I remember in high school, like I'm now like in the 11th grade. I think 11th or 12th grade. I don't remember, but I was like 17 years old and I was like, dang, like I cannot wait till I never have to step foot into school again. Like I just hated it. Like I did not like school. So at 17 years old, I dropped out of high school. I dropped out. I was already working at a call center, which was my first job I got at the age of 16. And I was just working at the call center. That's it. But it was just something, even though I dropped out of school, I knew that I would go to college and I would get a degree. There was a few things about my life that God told me would happen when I was younger, and I always knew it would happen, but everything about what was going on in my life did not reflect what God told me would happen, right? And so dropped out of high school and I just was working, you know, call center job, making a little bit over minimum wage. And to me, that was enough. That was sufficient. I was able to, you know, make a little money to go shopping, waste my paychecks, doing nothing. And I'm gonna end this video right here because I wanna start the second part and just tell you what happened and how God started to open doors and how God started to change my heart and how I actually ended up getting my bachelor's degree in liberal study at a Christian college. So stay tuned for part 2. Bye.